bringing news from a different page. Truth served hot and bold and strong. Every week we sing along. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Stories that make you think and pray. A light awaits at the end of day. Guided by the stars and stripes, through the stormiest of nights. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. When the world feels like a fight, hold your ground, stand for what's right. In the truth we'll find our way. Ed and Ronnie light the way. Red, white, and true we'll stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Together we find unity.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Red, White, and True with Ed and Ronnie, and the show starts right now.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Red, White, and True with Ed and Ronnie. Say hi, Ronnie.
Hello, everybody.
Man, do we have a full schedule of topics for the night?
Yep.
It is a busy news weekend. Man, Ronnie, we had to work to get ready for tonight.
Yeah, I demand some overtime pay. No tax on it either.
Well, I'll double your salary. How's that?
Yes.
Yes.
Works.
Well, so many things to talk about, so many things. But I love listening to my commander-in-chief.
I'd like, before I close, to say one word. I have read and I have been questioned since I've been here about certain demonstrations against my coming. And I would like to say just one thing, and to those who demonstrate so. I wonder if they have ever asked themselves that if they should have the kind of government they apparently seek, no one would ever be able to do what they're doing again.
One of the wisest men that ever lived.
Absolutely.
Whether you like him or don't like him, he wasn't afraid to say the truth, and proud to have had him as my commander in chief. Him along with Moses, according to certain people. So
Much.
we've been in Charlie Kirk mode for a while. Last Tuesday, we kind of got back into the regular current events way of doing things, but we don't want to let any of the Charlie Kirk situation just go so far away that we forget and that we lose the momentum of what God allowed to happen there that day. And I know we talked last week about church attendance. I got my hair cut today. My barber was talking that he had a guy in his chair. I don't remember if he said a pastor, but talking about a large church and the increase in numbers they've had since Charlie Kirk passed at Old Union. Once again, this week we had 3 brand new visitors. That makes 15 in the last 3 weeks, which for a small church, that's huge number. I mean, you would multiply that by many times over for some of the larger churches. And so I want us to continue to remember what Charlie Kirk stood for, what opportunities that we have as Christian conservatives right now. And well,
I do have a really cute video, unless you've got something.
Well, go ahead.
I saw this last week, and this is one of the things Charlie Kirk did.
Alexa, how do you spell Charlie Kirk?
Charlie Kirk is spelled C-H-A-R-L-I-E space K-I-R-K.
Alexa, how do you spell I want to believe in Jesus like you?
Oh
If you-
my!
If you couldn't hear that, the kid asked Alexa how to spell Charlie Kirk, and Alexa spelled it, and then he said, Alexa, how do you spell I want to believe in Jesus like you? So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes. This kind of goes along with the topic.
Hi, my name is Erica Arntz, and I am the muralist who is painting this mural in Waynesville, Ohio. I decided to create this mural because of how I was personally moved by Charlie Kirk's passing, and I felt like the best way for me to express myself is to give him a massive tribute and something that the community can appreciate, and I feel like it can help people with their grieving process and just bring something positive to a really sad situation. So what I did was I went on Facebook and I made a post saying, does anybody have a wall that I could paint a Charlie Kirk mural on? And a friend from high school actually reached out and she said, I have a wall, it's 120 feet long, 12 feet high, it's yours if you want it. And I said, done, I will be there. It was within 24 hours, I basically started painting the mural. And here we are, we're on the last leg of it. It'll be done today, and I just hope it brings the community and whoever gets to see the mural, I just hope it gives people a sense of peace and a reminder that we have really great freedoms in this country and they should never be taken for granted. So, God bless America.
That's awesome.
I don't think they'll be forgetting Charlie Kirk anytime soon if they drive by there.
Right.
Well, let's jump into the major topics we're going to discuss. Why don't you head off with the Israel peace plan that Trump and Netanyahu announced yesterday?
All right. So I did a little research in it, and it's a pretty actually interesting thing. They come up with a pretty much a 20 point peace deal. and they gave Hamas 3 or 4 days. This is coming from Trump, 3 or 4 days to accept the plan, and the warning of a sad end if they don't comply. So we've kind of seen the sad end a few times. It was pretty much as a proposal was an ultimatum with little room for renegotiation. The key components are a ceasefire and a hostage release. I mean, that's been on the table all along. Hostage and prisoner exchange, amnesty and safe passage for Hamas members renouncing violence may receive amnesty or safe passage abroad, which is pretty cool. Humanitarian aid and reconstruction, aid delivered via UN and international agencies, infrastructure and rebuilding prioritized. Now, the aid in the humanitarian aid with the UN is actually really interesting. I've seen several videos of the Israelis walking through open airfields that have pallets upon pallets upon pallets of rotting and expired food that the UN was supposed to come pick up and take, and they never did. It's just sitting there rotting. Demilitarization and security. Hamas's tunnels, weapons, and military infrastructure will be dismantled, which I can't imagine anybody in the world not sleeping safe after hearing that. Transition of governance, Hamas excluded. Pathway towards statehood, which would be awesome. Conditional withdrawals and security buffer. The IDF would withdraw tied to demilitarization milestones. Well, that's hard to say. Possible continued perimeter presence. Fallback of rejected if Hamas refuses. Israel may resume operations with the U.S. backing. So that's pretty much, hey, you got 3 or 4 days or you're going to get it again. I got a couple of videos here. This is Bibi talking about plans for Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu.
I believe that today we're taking a critical step towards both ending the war in Gaza and setting the stage for dramatically advancing peace in the Middle East. And I think beyond the Middle East, in very important Muslim countries. I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military capabilities, end its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. Your plan is consistent with the 5 principles my government set for the end of the war and the day after Hamas. Everybody asks, what is your plan for the day after Hamas? Here's our plan. Passed it in the cabinet. All our hostages, both those who are alive and those who died, all of them will return home immediately. Hamas will be disarmed. Gaza will be demilitarized. Israel will retain security responsibility, including a security perimeter for the foreseeable future. And lastly, Gaza will have a peaceful civilian administration that is run neither by Hamas nor by the Palestinian Authority. We're giving.
I cut that short, but I mean, that right there, that sounds like a win-win for Gaza. You know, I mean, Hamas being dismantled, demilitarized. They have their own civilian government. That's great. You know, that's amazing. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's huge that the perimeter of Israeli forces to make sure that that buffer in between Gaza and Israel is never breached again like it was almost 2 years ago. I mean, we're coming up on the 2nd anniversary here in a week. And I like the way he phrased it. It reaches all of the issues that Israel has had on the table since this first started on how to end the war. It doesn't seem like a concession to me. It seems like a good, well-thought plan, and not because Trump thought it. I mean, that was Netanyahu right there that was selling the plan.
Yeah.
And he didn't sound weak. He didn't sound like he was trying to cover things up. He sounded like a confident politician that was going to deliver what he has said all along. It doesn't matter who wrote it or you know, what name goes with it. It is first and foremost the hostages coming home.
Yes.
And then,
like you said, after 2 years, that's amazing.
and then, right.
If it happens.
No, I'm going there next. The hostages coming home and the demilitarization of Gaza, period. So that's the present and the future that this is looking towards. The big deal, and now I'm going to go back and include Trump here. Trump talked really big about this. You know, if it doesn't happen, this, and I'm going to say this, and I have a friend that is Jewish, and he is a huge Trump fan. He is a huge conservative, and his comment on the video that you just showed was, and now we go back to our regular programming of Hamas not doing what they agreed to, and the war will continue. And I think it's important, not just for this crucial point in history, but looking forward, for Trump not to look weak, because he has said this several times. He said to Hamas right after he took office, made threats and promises, and here we are from January to the 1st of October is tomorrow, and he's either got to allow Israel to finish it off, or Hamas has to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Because when you look at other conflicts around the world, and we're talking about much bigger militaries than what Hamas had put together, totally different in structure. But if China looks at Trump saying this to Hamas, and then at whatever point in time the issue of Taiwan comes up and Trump starts in with the same kind of rhetoric and doesn't follow through with what he said, then there's no deterrent there.
Right.
You know, what is it? Walk tall and carry a big stick, or
Yep.
Is that the saying?
Yeah. You got to walk tall and carry a
Stand
big
tall, walk tall. Okay. Well, we've got the big stick. I don't care what anybody says. We still got the best military in the world.
stick. Absolutely.
If you don't believe that, ask the Ayatollah in Iran. We're the only one that can drop that one. And so we've got the big stick. People just have to have in the back of their mind, will he use that big stick? He did in Iran. And
Yeah.
so it is a big, huge plus on our part. I think I believe this is going to happen.
Yeah. I honestly hope so. It seems like a consensus around the world is everybody's agreeing. Germany called it the best plan to end the war. Critics, however, argue it heavily favors Israel and lacks a clear Palestinian governance roadmap. Well, it's not going to sit there and lay out how they're going to achieve democracy. I mean, that's going to come eventually. You know that. So I don't understand why people are complaining that it lacks a clear, governance roadmap. It'll happen. It can happen. It's happened all over the world. Just give it time. Well, this is just a roadmap to end the war, not a roadmap to, taking over the country.
That's what happens when you lose the war.
Yeah.
And you don't lose the war and then get everything you wanted to.
Yeah. That's why it's really heavily one-sided. I mean, they started it. They're losing. I'm sorry, but You know, that's like you said, Germany didn't lose World War II, and you know, everything was hunky dory again. So I don't know. I'm really curious. I obviously I don't think Hamas is going to accept this. They're going to reject it. You know, conflict resume with Israel and the U.S. backing it. That's, you know, look at what we did to Iran just most recently. So domestic friction within Israel could complicate implementation. It's possible. Just like domestic, you know, friction over here could complicate anything.
Sure. I mean, in Israel, they have their version of people that aren't going to give Netanyahu credit for anything. Anything Netanyahu says is wrong. So, you know, pretty much every country has to deal with that, and that's just part of life.
Pretty much. You know, it said, you know, little room for negotiation. I don't think the hostage release should be a negotiation thing. And like he said there in the beginning, you know, what's in it for them? They're going to release their hostages too. So, you know, the difference is when Hamas released their hostages, they were usually in pieces and body bags, whereas Israel, you know, won't. They'll be whole bodies that have been fed and taken care of. So we'll see. I have a feeling this weekend it's either gonna go one way or the other. So
yeah, I mean, there's no ambiguity about that plan. I mean, no. It either happens in 72 hours or and in the press conference, you know, both Trump and Netanyahu said, I mean, Trump looked at him and said, Bibi, if they don't agree, you have my backing on whatever you have got to do.
And that's great. Just have the world see that. That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. You got another video on that?
Yeah, it's pretty much just the same thing, but I believe this came out of last night as well.
To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name, the Board of Peace, which will be headed, not at my request, believe me, I'm very busy, but we have to make sure this works. The leaders of the Arab world and Israel and everybody involved asked me to do this, so it would be headed by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States. That's what I want, is some extra work to do, but it's so important that I'm willing to do it, and we'll do it right, and we're going to put leaders from other countries on, and leaders that are very distinguished leaders, and we'll have a board.
Didn't go into much of what that is, you know, and Trump's going to Trump, but he's going to, you know, talk it up and all that, but we'll see what comes out of that. So, you know, we went from, we went to the Department of War, you know, from the Department of Defense to the Department of War, and now we're coming up with the Board of Peace. So give it time. Well, we'll see.
I'm a little concerned. He sounds awfully tired.
Yeah.
And at the rate that things have been, I mean, just in the last 2 days, the number of topics that are out there, you know, my first big topic that we'll cover is the shutdown. It's September the 30th. We've got until midnight tonight. So 4 hours and 35 minutes until, if there's no agreement, then the government shuts down. And before I play a video, I'm just going to say a government shutdown is not always a bad thing. But here is J.D. Vance from yesterday.
Good afternoon, everybody. We just had a very frank conversation with the Senate and House Democratic leadership. Look, the principle at stake here is very simple. We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut that government down. We have disagreements about health care policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreements as leverage to not pay our troops, to not have essential services of government actually function. You don't say the fact that you disagree about a particular tax provision is an excuse for shutting down the people's government and all the essential services that come along with it. If you look at what Chuck Schumer has said in the past consistently, it's whatever our disagreements are, let's negotiate with them. Let's talk about them. Let's figure out a bipartisan solution, but you don't shut the government down. In other words, you don't put a gun to the American people's head and say, unless you do exactly what Senate and House Democrats want you to do, we're going to shut down your government. That's exactly what they're proposing out there. Now, we have to remember, they're very frustrated. They say that they're very frustrated about the fact that this negotiation has not taken place until today. But if you look at the original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying to the American people, we want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. We told them it was absurd, and now they come in here saying that if you don't give us everything that we want, we're going to shut down the government. We think that's preposterous. We think it's totally unacceptable, and we think the American people are going to suffer because these guys won't do the right thing. Now, I want to make one final point here. You will hear a lot from Senate Democrats, from House Democrats about the fact that American health care policy is broken. Well, we know that American health care policy is broken. We've been trying to fix it for the 8 months that we've been in office, but every single thing that they accuse about being broken about American health care is policy the Democrats have supported for the past decade. So if they want to talk about how to fix American health care policy, let's do it. The Speaker would love to do it. The Senate Majority Leader would love to do it. Let's work on it together, but let's do it in the context of an open government that's providing essential services to the American people. That's all that we're proposing to do, and the fact that they refuse to do that shows how unreasonable their position is. I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind, but we're going to see.
We caught that last one.
Yes, we did. We got it. Well, I said somebody sent me something yesterday about the shutdown, and it's about the time that this video come out. I said I fully expect the shutdown to happen this time. It's kind of ironic. I've been seeing a lot of videos where Democrats act like Republicans. It usually is the very opposite. It's the Republicans that are threatened to shut down the government, and the Democrats saying, "Oh, we can't shut the government down." There's videos of Schumer out there basically begging to not shut the government down. And this time, and one of the interesting parts of it is they're saying that he is sticking to this so tough about it is because he's afraid that he's going to lose his Senate seat to AOC when the next election happens. And so he wants to show that he's the tough guy that he has never, ever been. He's he's the idiot that he's always been is what he is.
Pretty much.
If there's no agreement by 12:01, the temporary continuing resolution that took effect the last time this was advanced will take place. The House GOP, they passed a stopgap which keeps the lights on into November. Basically, the stopgap is that they will just keep doing things at the same money level that has previously been agreed on. No cuts, no increases. The Republicans want what is called a clean continuing resolution, which means there's no additions or subtractions. A little more backstory. Each year, Congress is supposed to pass 12 appropriation bills for 2026, which starts tomorrow. None of the full year bills have been enacted yet. So a temporary CR is needed to bridge the gap. Here's what changes if things shut down. Social Security and Social Security disability payments continue. Medicare, Medicaid operations largely continue. Expect slower service in spots. Air travel keeps operating. The TSA officers and air traffic controllers, they work by law without pay until the resolution is is taken care of. Delays become likelier the longer the shutdown lasts. The mail service is its own funded, poorly funded, but funded organization. Things like the Labor Department reports and things like that will, I guess I'm going to paraphrase it in saying that some things that we won't miss will be shut down. Ronnie, will you be losing sleep if we don't get the weekly jobless claim report next week?
No, I mean,
no.
The government shut down before, and it's to me, frankly, it's all Chuck Schumer and him being, he's afraid he's going to lose his seat, and he's trying to be a tough guy and all this noise, and I think he should be pulled out in the street and tarred and feathered, for this. This is absolutely ridiculous to put the fear, of losing their jobs or of the government shutting down, in every single American, well, every American that cares anyways. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. Everything I've seen points in his direction, and it's.
Well, I've always looked at government. I don't want the government to shut down, but I don't think it's the worst thing that could ever happen. There are much worse things that can happen than the government not being able to make bad decisions.
Right.
Here is one more video on this topic, and we'll move on. So be ready for your next big topic here.
So we go into a shutdown midnight, September 30th. What does that mean for the American people? October 1st, the military gets paid. October 2nd, federal payroll goes out. So all federal employees will get their paycheck. Social Security paychecks will continue. Medicare, Medicaid will still be honored. But what happens if it goes farther than that? Well, come the 15th and 16th of October, those checks won't go out anymore. For what? Well, we're waiting on the Democrats to once again shoot down a clean CR, which a clean CR means is a continuing resolution, keep funding the way that it's continued to go. Yet the Schumers of the world, which there's only one, Chucky, he's not wanting to allow the Democrats to vote on it. Why? Because he's scared. They're scared of their own base. He's truly 100% scared of his own base. He's afraid that AOC is going to run against him. So he's so worried about his seat that he is willing to shut down the federal government. Even though those Democrats that want to vote for it, he's threatening them and saying you can't vote for it. He's literally holding them hostage too. This is the exact same CR that they voted for 6 months ago, and the same type of CR they voted for 13 times underneath Joe Biden. It's for political purposes only. How can this happen when Republicans are in control of literally all three areas, right? I mean, you got the House, you got the Senate, and you got the White House. Yes, in the House, it did pass. If it got to the president's desk, yes, he would sign it. But remember, the Senate is a chamber for the minority to have a vote. And so while we only have 53 Republicans, it takes 60 to pass a funding bill. You may have to have 8 or 9 Democrats to do it. So we can't do it all alone. It has to be a bipartisan vote in the Senate chamber. So stay tuned. Hopefully this won't continue to move the way it is, but I don't see a way out at this point. You can't argue with crazy, and that's where the Democrats are acting right now. Absolutely crazy.
Well, that's it in a nutshell.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Nope.
Wow. Well, I got so today. My next topic is the big meeting with the generals and the admirals and all that that happened today in Quantico, Virginia. Lots been said about it. Lots been speculated about it. We can go down the rabbit hole a little bit here. I've heard, in 1945 or 46, whenever it was, the Germans brought all their admirals together, and it was to them to swear allegiance to Hitler, and that the Second Reich was over with, and the Third Reich was moving in, and everybody's saying, well, they're doing that. They're having all the generals and the admirals swear their allegiance to Trump. I've heard it's to pretty much get everybody on the same page. I've heard it's people talking about the admirals and generals and everybody trying to get on the same page with this 3-eye atlas, the big asteroid that's moving through our solar system, and it's getting closer, and they're saying now it changed course from what it was on, and it's about to go behind the sun, and nobody knows what's going to happen when it comes out from the other side of the sun's glare and all that. At times like this, same thing with Charlie Kirk, rumors fly, it is what it is. You just gotta believe what you got, what feels best for you. And I believe it was to get everybody on the same page now. I listened to Trump speak because he was there this morning. Forgive me, it was very boring. He rambled, like Ed said earlier. He sounds tired. He was very tired. He kind of bounced from subject to subject and wasn't all that interesting. But I got some snippets for Pete Hegseth and what he had to say about it. Check my comments real quick here. It was amazing. Put real men back in the military. Absolutely. That's basically what it's going to. Not just real men, real women too. Pete did a great job. Yeah. It was awesome. And I've got some here. So I believe this one is him talking about DEI.
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit.
Great. Yay. That's awesome.
One of the things in there, Ronnie, that I thought was really telling is the physical fitness standards apply to everyone from a buck private to a 4-star general.
Yeah, absolutely. Crackdown on fitness. Hegseth criticized the physical appearance of some military leaders, saying fat generals and admirals are completely unacceptable and a bad look. So, and I don't know if you remember a few years ago, there was a shooting with an AR-15, and they had this 4-star general or whatever, and he had apparently never fired the M16 looking gun, and he was shooting it all wrong, and it hurt his shoulder and felt like it was a rocket launcher and all that. So, hopefully with this new DEI standards and physical fitness standards, that kind of crap won't happen anymore. That was an embarrassing moment for the United States Army.
Well, yes, it was.
Here's talking about facial hair.
And that's why today, at my direction, the era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos. The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done. Simply put, if you do not meet the male-level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass a PT test, or don't want to shave and look professional, it's time for a new position or a new profession. I sincerely appreciate the proactive efforts the secretaries have already taken in some of those areas, service secretaries. And these directives are intended to simply accelerate those efforts. On the topic of standards, allow me a few words to talk about toxic leaders. Upholding and demanding high standards is not toxic. Enforcing high standards, not toxic leadership.
It's not toxic, I mean, right here, Obama made him soft, and so did Joe Biden. I mean, it was.
Well, when you think about it, a DEI office in the military makes not just 0 sense, it makes derogatory sense. I mean, that is taking away. Why would you take away from the mission? That would be like if we were at war and us taking away the Air Force. We're going to have a hard time winning.
Right.
Well, when you got DEI telling you that you have to have dudes in skirts, dresses, dudes in dresses, as he said, it makes no sense.
No, like you said, it took away from the mission. It took away from everything, and I mean, military leaders, sergeant, everything down had to go through this DEI training and all this hullabaloo. That was nonsense that really didn't matter.
Well, it doesn't matter most of the time in the real world And it certainly doesn't matter in the military.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's just be truthful. The military cannot operate the same way Cummins Engine Company does.
No.
It just can't. The military, their job is to win wars. And what do you do when you win wars? You blow things up, right? And that what your statement is? What's your statement on that? Blow things up and
blow things up and shoot things. I mean, we're not
right.
we're not bringing the military in to pass out flowers and trees,
And you don't win wars by having the best profit and loss statement.
Best P&L, yeah, right.
So you can't have some of those. I mean, there are some things civilian-wise that you can use in the military. DEI is not one of them.
No. Now, and in my personal opinion on the beards thing, I like the spec guys, the spec ops guys with the beards. They're too busy to shave, whatever. But it was starting to get a little out of hand where, Private Piles walking around with, little facial hair going. I thought, unpolished boots, that kind of thing. I don't know.
Well, here's what I think about that. And I agree what you say about the spec ops guys. I think those guys have earned the right to do whatever.
Yeah.
The high and tight isn't necessarily the best look for spec ops. If you see somebody, you said, I got out of the Jeep today, started to walk toward the house, and you said, I like the high and tight.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. It's nice.
So, but what does that say? Military law enforcement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, one of the two. Well, sometimes spec ops guys don't want people to know that they're military.
Yeah, pretty much. So, I mean, that's. And I'm sure he'll let that slide too. But I mean, other standards. I'm a fat guy. I wasn't afforded the opportunity to join the military because I shattered my leg and all that. But I still like to have a polished boot and my gig line straight and that kind of thing. So,
well, the military is not about. That's not fair. That's not fair. It's not fair that I'm in the military and you're whining while they're shooting bullets at us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's where you worry about what's not fair.
For sure. Here I got, I think he's talking about the genders and stuff in the military.
War does not care if you're a man or a woman. Neither does the enemy. Nor does the weight of your rucksack, the size of an artillery round, or the body weight of a casualty on the battlefield who must be carried. This is not about preventing women from serving. We very much value the impact of female troops. Our female officers and NCOs are the absolute best in the world. But when it comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. Today, at my direction, each service will ensure that every requirement for every combat MOS, for every designated combat arms position, returns to the highest male standard only. I'm also directing that warfighters in combat jobs execute their service fitness test at a gender-neutral, age-normed male standard scored above 70%. Simply put, if you do not meet the male-level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass a PT test, or don't want to shave and look professional, it's time for a new position or a new profession.
To be honest, the first time I watched that, when he was starting to go in that direction about, I thought for a minute maybe he's going to say women can't do the same job men can and all that. And I was kind of a little hesitant, but he carried that well. He said it better than I could have ever possibly imagined in my mind. And he's not saying that women can't do it. He's just saying we all need to be on the same standards, which I completely agree with. There's a meme out there that I've seen a million times. It's got like a really cut guy in the Marines, and he's walking by this really big fat guy, and he's got a huge tray full of food and stuff. And at some point, these guys are going to be expected to do the same thing. Well, as a fat guy myself, there's no way I could do the same thing as that cut Marine. So I like the high standards. I don't want a fighter pilot who is to be who may be overseas, or a bomber pilot, or even a grunt on the ground to be worried about his lipstick, or being allowed to have his hair parted a certain way, or if he's allowed to wear whatever kind of undergarments, or even being able to be too big or not strong enough to carry somebody off the battlefield. That eliminates all that kind of worry and all that kind of stress, and will ensure that we go back from being this woke DEI ideology weak military to back to being the number one in the world again.
It boils down to a decision they made a few weeks ago, Department of War.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I seen that, and I've not watched much of the Hegseth stuff from today, but I did read that he said the days of the Department of Defense are behind us.
Yep. We're now the Department of War, he said.
And that's just the way it ought to be. It really should.
I got one more. It's 20 seconds, and it's pretty much the exclamation point at the end of his entire spiel.
To our enemies, FAFO. If necessary, our troops can translate that for you. Another way to put it is peace through strength.
Peace through strength. Perfect. That's all we need.
Drop the mic, walk off, and just remember those 4 letters.
Yeah. FAFO. And if you don't know what FAFO means, get a hold of me afterwards.
Good old Google will tell you.
Google, yeah. But Bill, Tanya, whichever one, there are some women who can outdo the men. Absolutely. I can't agree more. And they deserve to be in the field. Go for it. I'm all for you.
This is even better than when I was in, because when I was in, women couldn't be in combat. Yeah. See, Pete Hegseth didn't say women can't be in combat. When I was in, women couldn't be in combat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I think this is the best of all those worlds together.
Yeah, absolutely.
We want the most qualified people in the positions that they're going to be in.
Yeah, that's another topic, is promotions based on merit, not gender quotas or being historic first or DEI, reasons that, or anything like that.
Next up, horrible situation took place on Sunday. A person should never have to worry that their safety is in jeopardy when they go to a worship service. And I'm talking about any worship service. It doesn't matter your religion, any of those things. You should feel comfortable being in your place of worship in the United States of America. And that wasn't the case on Sunday. A deranged man, and I'm not going to hide anything from this. This man was a military veteran who had served in Iraq. I'm not going to cover over it because I love veterans. It is, as Hegseth just used the phrase, it is what it is. And that's what that man was. I am going to go back to using the theory here of not giving any glory to somebody that does something so terrible. So I won't be using this gentleman's name. Take
the time to learn it. I couldn't even begin to tell you.
Right. At a Mormon church or Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS, or the Mormons, at a chapel in Michigan. The assailant used a truck to crash into the chapel, opened fire inside, and attempted arson. Attempted is not a good word there. He committed arson. And
It was arson.
Horrible fire that went along with. It looks like the person had some kind of a vendetta against the Mormon Church. That's still an ongoing investigation to find out the whys and the wherefores and all of that. Obviously, the vehicle assault was first, then gunfire, arson, explosives. They found other incendiary devices at the site. So it was a horrible thing. 4 congregants were killed, 8 more wounded. Victims included senior citizens and longtime members of the local congregation. Now, I want for a second for you to think about your place of worship, those that are watching us live, or even if you're watching later on. I want you to think about your place of worship. And I want you to think about the comfort level that you have. Think about what you do while you're at church. What do you want to be concentrating on? You want to be concentrating on worshiping, in our case, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You know, I don't think things that happen like this is a theology lesson time. I heard somebody told me that people were debating whether or not Mormons or Christians, LDS. Look, people.
It doesn't matter.
You know, when each one of those persons meet God face to face, He's not going to say, "Were you Mormon? Were you LDS?" That does not define who we are. I've said this many, many times. I have a sermon that I preached in the past called "Your Denomination Won't Get You to Heaven." Your individual relationship with Jesus is what will get you to heaven. And so I've not seen much of that, but I was told that that was going on. Just get that out. Get that out of my face. That is irrelevant. Those souls that lost their lives are just as important as Charlie Kirk. And you may say, well, no, I'm going to stop you before you even think it in my presence. Every soul is important to God. And those 4 were in their place of worship, should have been able to praise and worship the same that they have their entire life. So God rest their souls. Prayers go out to the families of the victims, the ones that are still recuperating, everybody that was in there that's going to be mentally traumatized for the rest of their life. You know, they'll hear a pop and they'll think it's gunfire.
Balloon pop.
A firework goes off. They know it's the 4th of July. They know there's going to be fireworks, and they still going to flinch or to want to dive underneath something. And so,
unfortunately,
I made a comment online about evil and its ugly head. Put on the full armor of God every single day. Don't let your guard down. People say, well, God has got us covered. Yeah, God does have us covered. But bad things happen to good people. God gave us free will. That man had the free will to run his truck into that chapel, to open fire. God does not stop free will. And so we have to be ready. And Christians, just know you have to be ready to. You have to be ready to meet the Lord, but you have to be ready while you're still here to take care of business.
Right.
When business opens up. If you don't believe what I said, just say 2 words. Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk. I don't think I had any videos that went with that story, but let's go to, well, let me just show a little cute one here. Let me give you a little backstory here, because you can't really see the writing here. This little girl gives Dan Bongino one of those little Jesus figurines. Does he just seem like a normal, everyday guy that, you know, you'd talk to like your next door neighbor?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
He's a dad, and you know, that was heartfelt. You could just look at it. Didn't even have to hear anything. It was heartfelt. And
yeah.
And now we were on the topic of evil being in the world, and here is something that we need to be on the lookout for.
When you say we're at war and you must do anything you can to make certain that we protect our democracy, that is a bat signal to crazy people. When a Democrat leader says that President Trump is Hitler or a Nazi, it's a bat signal to crazy people. When the media, for example, in my state, the Cincinnati Enquirer, said that after President Trump was almost assassinated, much like Charlie was, that he brought it on himself, quote unquote. That sends a message to crazy people. When the Cleveland Plain Dealer, the largest newspaper in Ohio, analogizes J.D. Vance, our great vice president, your friend, my friend, who we know personally, and says that he's a Nazi sympathizer, that he reminds the editor of what it must have been like to be with Nazis in the 30s. It sends a bat signal to crazy people. It puts us all in danger.
Does. It absolutely does. And we've showed video after video after video after video on here alone. You know, the left or even the media or something like that calling out with the bat signal to crazy people. Absolutely.
And, you know, I wish this wasn't an us versus them thing. I wish I didn't have to say our side doesn't do those kind of things. I wish nobody did those kind of things. I've you know,
absolutely
talked about all kind of things in a barber chair. We talked about the Pacers and the Colts and the Cardinals, and we talked Charlie Kirk and all kinds of things in a 45-minute period of time. And we mentioned this, that I didn't realize, and I think we all say the little phrase, nothing surprises me anymore. But even as bad as things have been, I had no idea that we were at the point where people would make fun of somebody being assassinated or cheering the fact that somebody was assassinated. I guess I'm naive. I've been naive about a lot of things in my lifetime. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But I didn't think we were that far gone.
I didn't either. I've seen it too much since Charlie Kirk. You know, it's not just making fun of Charlie Kirk being assassinated. It's making fun of the widow. It's making fun of, you know, the way she responded. It's making fun of everything. It's absolute insanity anymore.
It is. What do you got?
Well, since we were on cute videos, I got this one here.
Young man, this is a very earnest young man. He doesn't look like a journalist to me, but go ahead and shout out a question, because I'm not going to deny that level of energy and that level of passion. First of all, what's your name?
Henry.
Henry, it's good to meet you, Henry. Ask your question, please.
I skipped school today. I was wondering if I could get a picture with you.
Henry said, I skipped school. Can I have a picture with you? Well, I guess you got to have some excuse to skip school, so I might as well get a photo with Henry.
Now, maybe it's because I didn't pay attention too hard, but the last 4 years, do you remember anybody doing that with word salad, Kamala Harris?
She wouldn't have been able to put a sentence together enough to get the kid up there.
Right.
Should have had him. She would have had him in 2/10 down, taking a left out to the parking lot.
Speaking of being all lost and 2/10 down out in the parking lot, this is the new video from the White House. Oh, we miss you, President Autopen.
Now, we talked about this earlier today, and I honestly thought the first few times I saw that, I thought it was a joke. I had no clue that was real. You know, for those of you that think that that's fake, that's a real deal. That was a White House.
That came from the White House. That was their doing. So. I knew as soon as I saw that I had to show it and all that, and so to go from laughing to something a little bit serious, I don't know if I'm going to show all this. It's a whopping 16 seconds long, and it's really hard to read, as some probably won't. Donald Trump is pushing to release the Amelia Earhart files, so we'll actually be able to find out what happened to Amelia Earhart. If you don't remember her, she was the pilot, and her navigator Fred Noonan were attempting to travel around the world, and they disappeared. And it's one of the greatest mysteries of all time is what happened to Amelia Earhart. So there's that one. And then last week we were talking about the end of the world. It was the 23rd, wasn't it? It was supposed to be the end of the world and all that. And we talked about the gentleman who sold his truck and all this. Listen to this poor lady's story.
I don't even know what to do at this point. I gave my house away. I gave away my savings. I gave away everything because the rapture was supposed to happen. All I have is literally this trash bag. That is everything I own. Besides this car, I have nothing. I don't even have a job because I quit.
I kind of feel bad, but then again, I kind of don't.
I mean, what can you say?
I wish that young lady the best, and I really hope that is satire, but somehow it doesn't surprise me that if it turns out not to be. So, but, I did find this, and as a fan of marching bands and stuff, I thought this was really cool. That's the Commandant's own marching drill team. Trump later brought him in, gave him challenge coins. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I got one more story before we finish out. And
go for it.
It's a serious story. I can't imagine being in this father's shoes, but what I can imagine is that we have got to get this situation under control.
Her name's Logan Federico, not Irina. And you will not forget her. I promise you. You will be sick and tired of my face and my voice until this gets fixed. I will fight until my last breath for my daughter. You need to fight for the rest of our children, the rest of the innocents, and stop protecting the people that keep taking them from us. Please. You have the power. We put you in the power to do what you have to do. We're asking you, we're begging you all to stop this. 39 crimes in 10 years, 25 felonies. Can anybody here explain to me, well, how possibly he could be on the street? Possibly be on the street. How is it possible? I could sit down in a room and I could explain the whole process of how it failed, how South Carolina failed, Logan, okay? How lack of communication. What y'all did, you woke up a beast and you pissed off the wrong daddy. Because I'm going to put it out there. And I'm not going to be quiet until somebody helps. Logan deserves to be heard. Everyone on this panel deserves to be heard. And we will. Trust me.
How many times do we have to repeat the same story? How many times do we have to do the same thing and expect different results? 39 crimes, 25 felonies. He walks into the house where she was and basically executed her, didn't he, Ronnie?
Yes.
I think
she was visiting friends. Wasn't her house. She was visiting friends, and this guy just walked in.
And she knew it was coming too, because I mean, he woke her up, had her on her knees, hands over her, on her head, and blew her away, executed her. So that I don't think that was an illegal. I think that was just a scumbag. And releasing people many times with no bail, we just got to get that fixed. If a few people, just finish that segment off, Ronnie. I'm just disgusted.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing. Nothing more that we could say that we haven't already said, with Irina, when she was stabbed where the justice system failed her. I'm pretty sure if you dig down deep enough, all of us have been hurt or affected by some kind of failure in the justice system. Now, coming from working with law enforcement and working with the justice system, it's not an easy job. It comes with complications, but I take issues with some of the things about my job. Trying to figure out how to say this without saying it where it gets me in trouble, but some jobs there's no margin for error. Okay. If you can't handle being a police officer or a firefighter or a 911 dispatcher or an animal control guy or a judge or a lawyer or anything, Starbucks is always hiring. There's plenty of margin for error there. There's not a lot of margin for error with the other jobs that I mentioned, because people can get hurt, people can get killed, people have been hurt, people have been killed, and to experience two cases, within a month where failures in the justice system or simple whoopsies have gotten somebody murdered, and I know it's going to get down to, well, it's getting the media play because they were two pretty white girls. That has absolutely nothing to do with it. I'm so sick and tired of that. I've heard that since the first story with Irina came out, and this young lady. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with simple whoopsies got somebody killed, and it seems to be an ongoing issue.
Well, I'm right with you on the sick of listening to stuff like that. I mean, I don't look at either one of those cases as a white girl got killed.
Yeah, I don't see
a
that.
Human being got killed. That human being's dad. I'm a dad of 8 human beings, 3 of my own, 3 that I inherited, and I would be as angry as that man.
Absolutely.
And if we seen the story, a black lady on a train that got stabbed that way, I would be just as, how dare they make that about race?
Absolutely.
That's disgusting.
That's one of the main things I've seen all day long is it's about race. If a pretty black girl was killed by a deranged white guy on a train, you wouldn't be hearing anything about it, and that's bullcrap. It has nothing to do with the skin color. It has nothing to do with where they're at. It has nothing to do with whether they're legal or not. It has everything to do with somebody made a whoopsie and somebody got hurt or killed. And that infuriates me and boils my blood.
Whatever happened to the 3-strike rule?
Lawyers, DEI, all this made up crap has gotten rid of that. 3-strike rule. It doesn't apply anymore. It doesn't apply in certain states. Indiana, I don't believe is one of them that has this 3-strike rule. When I worked for the Indiana Department of Corrections, there were so many frequent flyers there that had 18, 19, 20 times the exact same charge.
Well, 25 felonies. What more can you say?
Nothing. This guy, this situation, Charlie Kirk, Irina, all these kind of situations, and I deal with situations definitely not as similar where people have died, where people could have died. My own, and it gets under my skin, it boils my blood, and now it's my turn to shut up and you turn to take over because I'm just so infuriated.
Well, we're going to close it out. We've got more. Ronnie, did you have more that you had?
Nothing that can't wait. Well,
that's where I'm at. I had a couple more, but I think this is a good point to call it a night. Before I forget, the video that will take us out of here, the outro.
What was it? Actually, it wasn't the outro. It was what was it last week you called it? You said you liked it better.
I did, and I will have to go back and look because I can't remember. The take us home video or whatever.
There you go. Take us home. Bring it home video.
It's a long one this week. It's 3 minutes and 24 seconds. I saved it to the end because the copyright issue might get us on that. And if they mute the last 3 minutes, I'm not too upset with that. Say goodnight, Ronnie.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I look forward to this every week. I was joking about the overtime pay. I would do this for free. Wait a minute. I do it for free.
I was going to say would. Well, we love what we do. Sometimes we've got more topics than what we can. It wouldn't matter if we did this every single night. We could come up with a full range of topics to talk about. We're thankful that you join us on this little trip that we take down.
Absolutely.
I won't say memory lane, but down through history. We're making history, not. I should say that we're living history, and so we thank you for being a part of it. And until we see you the next time, which will be next Tuesday at 7 Eastern, or before if something comes up.
Don't say it.
Pay attention. I'm not.
That's it.
I will remember that. I will not Charlie Kirkus ever again.
and you know, people might think that that's insensitive, but I guarantee you, he's up there laughing at us right now because of that.
Oh, yes, he is. Yes,
he's getting a trip out of us.
So until we see you again, go out and do the right thing. As we get ready to play this, this is in tribute to those that were in Michigan and lost their life at the LDS chapel there.